This podcast episode is brought to you by Science Bodyboards. That's right. The Boogie podcast has a sponsor. Huge thank you to John Cruikshank for stepping up and supporting this little effort. And this is one hell of an episode to support because it does feature the one and only Garth McGregor, future Mayor of Newcastle, all-round charger and absolute legend. This podcast episode was recorded recently in Newey. In fact, in a very cool bar called The Ship Inn. And if you're in Newcastle, you should totally check that place out. It is full of great ales and great people to enjoy those ales with. So, less from me, more from Garth. Enjoy the podcast, and thanks again, Science Bodyboards. Alright, this should work well. Say a couple of things.
Totoralo, ti. 1, 2, 2, 2. Alright, mate.
Thanks, Garth, for coming and joining the Boogie podcast.
Too easy, brother. Thanks.
We're sitting here in the Ship Inn. Hi, everyone. I'm focusing on Garth this time. I'm not putting myself in the picture. It's all about him. New thing. Less about me and more about the people I'm talking to.
Okay.
I'm doing my best.
It's what the people wanted.
It's what the people want. I don't want Josh. I want to kick off by asking you what you love about this city that you live in. What's the best thing about this? You've been here a long time.
Well,
You've never lived anywhere else, have you?
Nah.
This is it.
This is it.
So what do you love about what do people not know about Newcastle, or what is it about Newey that's special to you?
Well, it takes you one lap around the beach, mate. You get to know that. You got nobbies, you got the harbour, you got the nobbies, you got ships that come in and out. It's just non-stop flow. Like, you can sit there and watch the harbour, just the harbour by itself, with the boats moving and the ships and the lighthouse, the dunes, the convict pools, the wall that was built by the convicts. Then you got Fort Scratchley, which is, it's got so much history. The iconic bloody church on the hill.
Did they take the big dick down over there? Wasn't there that big dick building? Is that gone now?
There was enough big dicks in this town, so they took it down. They actually built that for the Queen.
Did they build that for the Queen?
They built that for the Queen, hence Queen's Wharf Brewery. And I remember it was 1988. And they erected the penis for the Queen, and she came here in a boat and she snipped it.
The ribbon.
The ribbon.
We were talking about a circumcision there for a second. I was just double checking where we were going. So the big dick's gone. When did that go though? Because when I was here at uni, the big dick was well and truly visible from pretty much anywhere in Europe.
Well, what's opposite to a big dick?
I don't know.
Big void.
Big void.
And that's what lies there now. I guess it was like, well, let's take it down. What does it resemble now?
The opposite.
Yeah, the opposite.
Fantastic. Well, Newey hasn't lost its sense of humour.
No.
I mean, you've seen it. I was here probably in early 2000s going to uni, as most people from Foster seem to do. We're sitting in a bar now, the Ship Inn. People should check it out if they're here. It's a good old mate of mine from up the coast. And, there's a lot of people from up my way that end up living here and never leaving. It's changed a lot. Have you enjoyed that change over time, or do you feel like it's kind of drifted away from something? Like
sort of had probably the last change was good for a little bit. With what I grew up and what we sort of saw around here. Being a sort of major port, there's a lot of shit that comes in here, and then floods we were a town back in those days, and then, it devastated the community.
Right.
It made a big impact.
You're referring to drugs?
Drugs, don't do them, especially smack.
Yeah. Okay, so that
was a real impact. We had a lot of incredible surfers. This is going back pre-bodyboarding and just probably at the birth of bodyboarding.
Yeah.
Definitely pre at the birth.
Yeah.
Growing up, I watched a lot of, older crew go downhill. And it hit this town a lot, pretty hard.
Because it had a real reputation, I remember, as a kid earlier, maybe around the earthquake moment, but that it was a rough place, like a dangerous place in some areas.
Yeah,
it wasn't a place you went to sip on a latte.
I think most places with a harbour in them,
they're usually rough.
They're rough because you got you had the painters and the doctors and all that bullshit.
Yeah.
We also had the steelworks where I guess a lot of guys went missing over there. Only take one little push and never seen before.
That'd be a hell of a way to
seen
go.
Again.
Could be quick. Pretty hot.
So gone. But Newcastle's got a lot of history, and we've got a lot of good history too.
Seems like there's a lot happening today here.
Yeah,
it's
flat out.
Buildings are popping up everywhere. Racing car events have happened here.
It's a bit overwhelming.
There's a lot are they pushing it a little too hard for you? Are you just guys,
I feel like they're just selling the place like they don't understand what they're getting rid of.
Yeah.
People move here for the fucking vibe.
Yeah.
They move here for the vibe, they fuck the vibe, and then they fucking move on and then do that somewhere else, And it happens in a lot of places.
Yeah.
It'll continue to happen because a lot of people want to live on the coast, especially after we've just come from that drought.
Yeah.
Then you got the floods and shit, so where do you want to be?
And
you want
COVID on top of that. It looks pretty appealing, eh?
That's right,
it's funny for me because, Newey was the place as a young guy. You grew up here, so maybe it's a little different. Obviously, it's different in your experience, but for me, it was the first big city experience for me, living somewhere where there were, traffic lights and, more pubs than just the Lakes and Oceans Hotel in the belly, had a bit of diversity, and it was just a real eye-opener all the time. You just didn't really know what was going to happen in a night, and it was a positive feeling, not a scary one, but it was just cool to be able to feel like you grew up a bit when you got here. You had to survive a bit more. So it looks a bit softer now when I come in, but maybe I'm just older and seeing with different eyes.
There's definitely still a bit of poverty and that's in nearly
very clean here.
Yeah, it is. It's because I knew.
Which isn't always good.
Because I knew you were coming, so we cleaned it up. Just like most, I guess we're going through the same shit as a lot of other towns and cities are.
Yeah.
Because now we're classed as a city.
Yeah, exactly.
It used to be, hey, this is our town, and now it's City of Newcastle. And they're just basically, if I was to leave for 3 weeks, I'd come back and you notice buildings just popping up everywhere.
Gnarly,
So, there's a lot of people from Sydney.
Yeah.
We've got an awesome university here as well, so we get a lot of people from up and down the coast that come here.
Yeah.
Like yourself, like a whole heap of bunch.
Yeah. Has it affected the waves? Are you noticing more people surfing around here now?
Yeah, definitely. It sort of gets a little bit harder to sort of.
That doesn't bother Garth McGregor though, I'm sure, at the harbour, does it?
Not anywhere really. But it's more the the fact that you sort of get the shits. Am I going to go out and get the shits? Do I want to go out and get the shits?
Yeah.
I've got a little 3-year-old now, so when I look at her, I just go, I'd rather just hang out with her, you know, and my wife, my beautiful wife.
Yeah, cool.
I love you, Emma.
That is gold. I actually started this podcast the wrong way. I want to say thank you because 50% of the reason why I got back into bodyboarding and competing on the world tour was because I saw you doing it. And I was like, if that cunt's doing it.
If that fucking can do it, I can do it.
Well, I was like, and it's a serious question now, but a serious statement to say is that it definitely helped me overcome my own, like, feelings of not being worthy of doing it, or feeling like some kind of opportunity had already passed me by in life where I was like, oh, I'm too old to do that now or whatever. It's like, Garth just went to the world tour and was actually, I watched you come second to Chopu, and I'm like, fuck me, this is like...
I'm going through that now.
Nah, mate, you've still got it in you, but about that moment, because I don't know if my memory is incorrect, but you weren't a competitor in the early stage of your, or maybe in the very early stage, but there was a period where you came across as more as a free surfer who was just doing cool trips and getting photos and videos. Like, was competition a thing for you the whole time? You just never got into it?
Well, once I worked out that I could be a free surfer and being a sore loser.
Yeah, exactly.
So it was like a good little fucking, fuck comps, I'm not doing that. It's not until later in life I started to work out a little bit, you know, especially that last time, just a little bit of a comp game. Yeah. And I never thought I'd even think about that or think that way.
Yeah, strategically, like...
Strategically, sort of, you know, because I know I was going up against guys that, in certain ways, are way better than me, you know.
Exactly the same experience.
You know, 20 years ago, 30, you know. Different story. But, yeah, and I couldn't believe that I was actually getting into that, and I really enjoyed it. Yeah. I sort of was like, I sort of started to get the momentum, but at that time we had our child, Luca, and then I just was like, fuck, I can't afford to do this.
Yeah.
The only reason I could afford to do that at the time was everyone in Newcastle, God love you, so I had a massive...
I heard.
You know, like...
People just throwing cash at you to do it,
That
was like,
it was all the time, like, you know, and that got me through 2 years, that money.
That's crazy. Because that's not cheap, like that's probably...
when you don't
10
have...
to 20 grand experience there, right?
When you don't have, like, you know, financial... Mike's looked after me a few times.
Yeah.
God love him.
Yeah.
You know. But we all know he's always fucking crying poor. I love you, Mike, you know that. But, you know...
This is going to be the best podcast.
I guess after, you know, Mike's been screwed around in his early days, so I totally get where he's coming from, mate.
But let's go back to the experience, because you did the tour, you got 2 years on that. I mean, what was, I can assume the highlight, but what was the highlight for you? Was it the Tahiti comp, or was it...
Tahiti comp was like, the earlier one was a bit of a bummer, because I got I did all right against Mike. I got a 10 and then I couldn't back it up because of the wind turned. We'll go that way.
Yeah. That's the story you tell yourself.
But the second one was all time, because me and my wife were on a bit of a trip together. She'd never been to Tahiti, so it was great, and that's where we found that Emma was pregnant with our daughter.
In Tahiti?
So it was nearly. I'm not saying we weren't trying in Tahiti, but it did happen before.
Yeah, cool.
Just before, I was taken advantage of. And that's when it happened. Yeah, just
cool.
before that.
Cool.
But yeah, that's probably the most.
Yeah.
It was all time, just to be there and with all the locals and chapes, they're just so beautiful, like, and coming second, I got to the finals, I just ran out of steam. I was knackered, because these guys are just, I love having a beer every arvo and maybe a couple.
But there's something as well, because I know that feeling of getting to your, as an older guy on tour now myself, I don't know, how old were you when you went back in there? How old were you?
I was 39.
Yeah. So I'm 37 now, so close enough in that same kind of area of like age where, like, I got my best result last year, and I remember there's this momentum you feel through it, and you kind of can't believe you're still getting through heats. And for me, there is a wall that you just hit, and it's almost like, not your luck running out, but there is an energy that just you can't. It's hard to maintain that energy.
I was just flaked.
Yeah. And you get to the final, you feel.
And I really wanted to, but basically, I ran out of steam.
Yeah.
But I had a ball, mate. 100%. And I lost to Jerry, so
that's all right.
Yeah.
I always lose to Jerry. I've never beaten him. It's a bit of
he's a bit of a sweetheart.
Yeah, it's hard to. You definitely can't hate him for it.
Yeah, he sold me on a couple. He's like, and he goes, I got you, Jim. I was like, you little fucker, I'll get you. I'll get you.
Now, am I remembering correctly that following that moment...
Hey, Jared, when you get a chance, brother.
Am I remembering correctly that the day after the comp, you might have gotten roped into, like, painting a fence or something?
Yes, we did.
So what happened there?
Yeah, just the locals, who was it? It was me. Jerry was there.
Yeah, he was roped into
Jerry
it too.
was there.
That's where I think I heard this story.
Yeah, me, Jerry. Who else was there? I just looked at the photo. Actually, Big Prize was there.
Okay.
He was obviously had to be there. No one else turned up. My wife was there too.
This was like an APB community project.
Yeah, community. Where you
only a few, like 3 of you turned up.
Where you'd expect to see Mike Stewart, Jeff Hubbard. Who else? Who else are you cheeky buggers? Anyway, it didn't matter. Thanks, bro. It made for it was a funny day.
It sounded like the most like the story the way Jerry was telling it. I just remembered like the frustration because the surf was good.
Yeah. There was waves. I was like, "Fuck, we gotta paint this whole thing." Man, we did it, and we did it.
Yeah.
So we ended up going to the church, and they put a bit of a show on, and but that's what you do.
That's the price you pay.
That's right. I was totally bent on doing it because we finally got Chopu back.
Yeah.
And I just felt like as if we wanted to keep the ball rolling, you got to get in there and give back to the community so they want you back, Obviously people had baguettes to eat and fucking, other shit or whatever they were doing, bloody stretching and fucking eating lentils or some fucking shit. But anyway, we did the hard yards and we painted that church.
That was the day after the comp, right?
Yeah.
That's so funny. It's so good.
I think it was.
Yeah, I think it was
Or
soon
it was
after.
in between.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
Because you guys had already, it was all done and dusted. I
Right.
think the surf was good.
Yeah.
Anyway, thanks for sharing that story of naming names. I think that's really important.
Well, there's more. You know who you are.
But on a note about Tahiti, I assumed it was like a sweet moment for you because in your first kind of life as a pro bodyboarder, you were really there early days with Ian Stewart,
Yeah,
like
and
hunting barrels.
Stu's took us there.
Yeah. So let's talk about that moment.
Sorry,
a bit,
well, Quicksilver took us there. Dave Appleby.
That was your first-
He lined
yeah,
it up to
exactly.
stay at Poto David's house. His
Exactly.
brother Manoa.
Yeah.
He was a legend of a bloke. Yeah, and he took us around and, you know, got us to all the waves as well as...
You guys were on a boat trip around that way too?
We did. That was another year. That was with Quicksilver Crossing.
Yeah.
Me, Benny, Rick Bannister, fella from Pommyland. Oh, fuck.
Danny Wall.
Danny Wall.
Mandy might have been there?
Matt fucking Wall, bro.
Yeah, right.
No, it was just the boys. Dave, Tim Jones, and who else? That might have been it. But I know that, like, did I say Benny? Benny,
Yeah.
yeah. But the boys, Shark Island Challenge was on that year.
Uh-huh.
So we were on the boat for as long as we wanted, but the boys wanted to get back.
Oh, no.
And seen I didn't do comps.
Oh, no.
I said, well, they bailed, and me, Dave, and Jonesy
so you
stayed
stuck
on
around?
there. Yeah. Well, they had a pallet of VB on there. We had a fella cooking for us. He was a legend, Aussie fella. We had Martin Daly didn't get on the boat till after, but a legend of a bloke, Bert, Uncle Bert, he was driving the boat first.
Yeah, right.
And he'd been driving it, I think he drove it all the way to Tahiti, and he had the shits.
All right.
Anyway, the last time I was in Indo, I bumped into him,
Yeah.
and it was just crazy, man. We had a hell boat trip, and he got on the boat.
Yeah, right.
He usually drives the boats, but he just went, okay, he's on there, and we just had it.
Yeah,
And he's a top bloke. But yeah, and then Martin came on the end, and we looked everywhere, and there wasn't many waves. But once the boys had bailed, yeah, we got one day of just absolute gold, where people come out and, like, the locals are just mind blown that people were surfing, and yeah, that was probably one of the most special
And that
moments.
was to the outer islands then, right? Were you on the move then?
the tour motors.
The tour motors up north. Yeah.
Tour motors.
Yeah. You're so out of the way there.
Yeah, it's crazy
so
up
crazy.
there. It was just beautiful,
Waves
you
everywhere.
know.
Is it like Whakarava is one of the islands there or something? There's so many islands.
Whakarava. I think that's the one we flew out of.
Yeah, I think that's the one with the only airport. But it's a special place for you. Like, was it? I mean, I'm being reminded now as well that, like, fuck, you were at a pretty good wicket back then, weren't you? Like, that was a good period for a pro bodyboarder. Like, you were just doing a lot of photo trips and stuff. Right?
Yeah. Quickie totally looked after us, mate. Yeah.
That was the cue boards moment, right?
Yeah,
where
that's
you all
right. Jumped on the cue boards. Mez shaped them for us. Yeah. Thanks a lot, Dave and Quickie.
Yeah. Good moment.
Awesome time to be a grommet. Yeah.
How old were you then?
Well, would have been from I remember the first trip we did to Tahiti.
Yeah.
When we did the cue boards thing, I turned 18 when I was there.
Yeah, right.
So yeah, I think that went from like when I was 15 to. They just kept sending me checks in the end.
Sweet, eh?
And I was, misbehaving and moved out home and just, maybe about 23, that sort of ran out.
Yeah. And was it a run out? Like, how do you view that moment? Was that part of the, like, was that a problem for you the way it ended then? Is that why you wanted to have a go later? Or
Nah.
Okay, well then,
That was just money in the hand. It kept getting sent to me. I'd go to the bank, which is the next corner down there.
Yeah.
And they would quickie checks, and they'd go, oh, they love me, the lady. Oh, Garth, because you couldn't go with a check and just get money. And they'd go, yeah, we'll give you money straight away. I wish they did. Just said, you'd find yourself at the likes of the, fannies and doing, just growing up as a kid, spending money. You got money, you're going to run around with the boys.
But it's an interesting thing because, like, because bodyboarders today, like, you're talking like when you're 18, 19, 20, into your early 20s, and I got the tail end of that moment with my sponsorships where, like, I did get a bit of money and I was kind of like, I'm a professional bodyboarder. Like, I'm getting some money here. I don't have a real job. It sounds like you were doing much better than I ever did. Like, it's pretty interesting to look at just the difference today. Like, an 18-year-old really that life doesn't exist anymore.
I know, it is sad.
Or is it?
Well, it's not sad, I guess. Well, these guys put in their... Hang on, let me reverse that.
Yeah.
So we all do it for the love. If someone throws money at you, fucking, I'll tell you, run with it, and that's a bonus. Don't take it for granted. Because that doesn't come around, probably doesn't come around at all now.
Doesn't really.
And these guys, there's a lot of young guys that are, which is good to see, none around you. Maybe a couple, there's two guys that I can think of from Newcastle, but they're in their 20s now, which should be... what are their names? Doesn't matter.
Big shout out.
They know who they are.
I'm trying to think about them for you now.
Jesse and bloody...
Was it a Crookshank or not? The Crookshank.
No, they're grace to them boys. They always have been. Johnny's brothers were rippers, and they stopped bodyboarding. And, Harry McGuinness.
Okay, cool. Harry McGuinness.
He's a legend.
And Jesse.
Both. Harry's... He's gonna get some big pits. I've seen some pretty cool photos. Jesse's fucking all over it. Yeah.
Great style. I enjoy watching him.
Yeah. There was other guy. Turn that shit down.
So Garth is he a shareholder in the pub? This is fantastic.
Yeah.
So there's a few guys coming up, and it's everything's good now. I think Garth's happy.
Yeah, I'm happy. I'm in control.
Yeah, you're in control. Okay, good. Everything's good.
Jared, I'll get a whiskey sour, mate. I'll give you something to do.
We don't do whiskey sours here, brother. You want the Falcon?
Oh, you give me one.
No, we don't.
You give me something close to it. Don't try and sell the bloody joint.
They're the cocktails we do. You know this, mate.
Look, what do we got?
Cocktails.
Sailor's ration.
Sailor's ration. What's that? His urine. His own fucking urine.
While you consider your next drink.
Fuck that.
Did you take it for granted? Your advice there before was don't take it for granted.
Don't take it for granted.
Is that from your own life lesson?
Yeah, I took it for granted. I was in love with surfing, but I really didn't give a fuck about the rest of it.
Yeah.
So I was very lucky. I wish I was sort of guided a bit better and maybe a little bit more intelligent, but...
Do you think that makes a difference though? Like, what do you mean by that?
Well, you have a look at the likes of Benny.
Okay.
Benning's done really well for himself.
Mates, you're talking about just investing, getting the money.
Yeah, he was way more ahead of me. I was just there for the good times. Then, when we were grommets, he was thinking about a house. He was thinking about what he wanted, you know, like...
Yeah.
And he really put his time into be, like, the world's best, you know, one of the world's best, you know, and... It's, you know, I still today, like, not when we were younger, but now I watch him, you know, and I love watching him surf.
Yeah, I mean, he still surfs.
He rips.
Yeah,
like,
still rips.
Yeah, like...
Blessed, I believe, a bit, like, genetically blessed, though, to keep ripping. Like, there's nothing to it.
Genetically?
So I think that helps when you're...
Have you seen his head?
Well...
No, yeah, genetically,
respects, you know, like
genetically from here down, and then probably, well...
Who knows about the other? I don't know. It's like just the midsection.
Maybe his spine, just his spine. No, I'm taking the piss back.
That's a good one. But yeah, like he kind of he's a lanky dude, so it kind of helps.
He did, yeah.
It seems like if he went to Macca's every day, he probably wouldn't even put on an ounce.
Yeah, well, there was probably a time where he was eating at Macca's all the time, you know, because he could afford to. He was sponsored by Quickie. But he, you know, Benny worked hard, and he knew what and he just had that competitive fucking streak.
Yeah.
And yeah, so it'd be good if he made a comeback.
I think he could
it'd be good.
He could certainly do it. Like he'd get the results.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about it.
And it'd make shit harder for you, wouldn't it?
That's fine. Like I don't want anything easy in this. Like I love it. I love it if I've got the hardest guy. If I've got a heat with Pierre.
Well, you're in the right fucking bar. You can't get Nah, yeah, so.
No, I think it's good, you know, like, and I think, like, you must have experienced that as well, competing, like, particularly probably when you got a run of results, like, it feels good to beat those young guys.
It does feel good, in good waves.
Yeah.
You know, as long as the waves are good, like, that fucking obviously feels better, you know? I feel like the bigger the better the waves, harder you have to fucking work. As long as you got your game plan and you know, you can sort of, you know, things can sway your way. Obviously, the ocean has the last call, but, you know, that's, I wish I knew that shit when I was younger.
Yeah.
But I just think, you know, I remember my old boy used to always go up to the judges and check your scores. I'd be like, fuck, man, I'm going up there.
Have a chat to Haddo.
Yeah, Craig.
With that kind of discussion, though, I just had something I was about to say about that with competing and how you approach it. I remember really vividly as a grom, watching Ian Stewart's videos, particularly I think it might have even been Sephitum 2, which is really like being specific, but I think there's a Garth McGregor section in that film, or it might be Sephitum 1, I don't know which one it is.
It was Sephitum 1, 2, 3, and...
You were in all of them.
Yeah, maybe not until, I don't know.
There's one in particular where there was a lot of shots, a lot of clips from, I'm pretty sure it's Indicators, and you had this thing going, and you've kept it in your surfing style since, where your rail game from side to side, it was just like extremely Garth McGregor. I don't think anyone else rides a barrel like you. I haven't seen anyone else ride a barrel like you. The ability to come out of a barrel and put that turn in so early, where you'd think, like, doesn't he just want to get away from it? Doesn't he want to get out and show that he made it?
Well, you want to use the power of the wave, don't you? You don't want to go away from the power.
I know.
Yeah.
But it was a really unique ability, and I guess where I'm going with the question is, because it's very characteristic of your riding style, did that help you in those bigger waves when you're in your late 30s, that rail game, that ability to really stay connected to the wave? Do you feel like that was an advantage that you had over the young guy that could do, 2 backflips on the one wave?
I basically just bring it straight down to watching mine. I know my shit ain't nowhere near as polished as the old boys, but it was totally mine. It was, just putting that rail where you wanted it. No doubt. Like, I know I don't look anything like Mike surfing.
You look like Garth McGregor surfing, and I think that's
I know.
Yeah.
But it was, that's how I just frothed on it. On big waves and just trying to control your board instead of fluffing around and doing this and doing that. Using that and using your power and controlling your lines.
Was that a conscious effort for you then? Was that like
absolutely?
As a Grom, you're watching Mike
I wanted to hump that board into submission. Just every board I got, I just wanted to own it. And just put it, basically, just own that thing.
Hump it into submission.
Yeah.
Yep. That's 100% what you were doing.
And put it where you want it to go.
Yeah. Because there was the phase because I remember the two things were really stood out for me as a grommet watching you surf in the videos and stuff is like that ability to just turn so early in the pocket that it was almost like too early. It was on the verge of probably being. I'm sure you fucked up a few of them sometimes. But like the other thing also was that you were able to hit the air and you were doing kind of like those real tweaked kind of golfy spins and stuff. And I remember just watching that going like, fuck, that's radical. Like I love that there were both things happening.
It's amazing what they can do with cinematography.
You're too humble. That's the difference between us. But so looking back on all of it, because you've been a part of bodyboarding at different moments. It sounds like, would you say, from your like those early 20s when the check stopped from Quicksilver? Like what happened in that period up until you made that comeback?
I was surfing, but I ended up surfing stick flat out in front of my house at that time, which was the Carey Island flat area, which I grew up riding a stick before I rode a bodyboard anyway. But and I fully nearly gave up. Yeah. And then one day I was just like, what am I doing? It's like, there's this craft I can do. Yeah. And I love surfing, but I just need to find a good balance. Yeah. But that's at that time, and then fucking bang, out of nowhere, I think I was approached by... actually, at that time, I was sponsored by Moray, and then they went to shit. Yeah. And then that was sort of it. And then my cousin came to me and wanted to open up a store.
Oh, that's right. The bodyboard shop is down the street.
And he ran that past me and then said, what do you think of names? And he was hell-bent on doing it. And I was like, fuck yeah,
sweet.
Do
I
it.
remember that now. I'm just coming.
Legend.
Yeah.
And then I was talking, there was a comp at Newcastle Beach, and Mason Rose was there, and he just said, "Man, I got you a deal." Mate, just like that. Just said, "I got you a deal. I want you to ride for Turbo." You know,
That's
I've got
cool.
these guys are coming in, they're throwing money in. They said who, and I was like, "Bang, Garth, thanks, Mason, you're a legend, mate." He's heaps of love, and he got me sort of, you know, back in the game.
Yeah.
And I was like, fuck yeah, you know, and I was still bodyboarding. I was actually, there was just that moment of surfing. I remember I had this moray that I had, and my brother, and it all was taped together, and then I just got straight back into it.
Yeah.
Before this, and I didn't have any board sponsors or anything. And and then at that time, Mason just hooked us up, and then the boys at Turbo took me on. Glenn Taylor, legend, shaping me boards. You know, he shaped me quite a few. I still don't know what I want. You know, that's why I'm always like, these guys that shape boards, they're insane at what they do, and they are good.
Yeah.
But in the end, sometimes the best time is to walk into a shop and just go, fuck, that's the board I want, you know?
That's how it was as a Grom. Sponsorships and stuff. Like,
You know?
I've often found it like that. Like, I just feel like I don't know enough about it myself to know, like, here's what I want half an inch off there. It's like, I don't know what I'm talking about. Just, I know when I see it, it looks good, and I can, get on it.
30 years deep, and I still don't know.
Yeah, it's impossible.
It's like, you know, you get other like Johnny's very good at sort of tweeting out.
Yeah. Nah, cool. But so the comeback kind of came back around then, and I guess like to get to a point on this kind of bigger picture of you, like looking back on the journey, like. Because you're still, like, I mean, even though those competitive moments were probably, like over 5 years ago, kind of now, right? You were kind of about 5 years ago that you were on the tour and people were cheering you on out of the city of Newcastle, basically, looking after you on the way. Like, how good is bodyboarding to you?
Well, it's everything.
Yeah.
You know, besides family, it's everything, you know.
Because it's like, I didn't know about these stories like Mason, like, hey man, you're like, I mean, that's just a wild part of the story to me. Like, is it, it's a beautiful thing, right?
Yeah, absolutely. But, you know, having brothers, you know, when you see them, they're always going to be the same fucking, you might see them for 10 years. They're the same person.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you know, I can't stand people that fucking like, you spend time with them and shit, and then when you see them again, they just like, it's like, what the fuck?
Bodyboarders do seem to stay true to that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I mean that in general, not just bodyboarders like that. But it's great when you get those, you know, when all that shit comes back and you party and you're having a good time, you're having beers with your mates. And, you know, like it's good catch up. It's such a good catch up.
So I saw that you went down for Kingy's thing at Urban Surf the other week. And
who's?
Kingy's little wave pool session.
Who? Damien fucking who?
So listen, I'm happy to rip into Kingy as we wrap this podcast episode up. Was that the beginning of the next comeback for Garth McGregor, or what?
Not if I continue hanging out at level 7. No.
All right, cool. Well, hey, thanks for jumping on. Good podcast. I think there's some absolute ripping fucking moments here. And thank you again, because I wouldn't have gotten back into bodyboarding the way I did if you didn't do what you did.
Oh, that's great, Josh.
No worries, mate.
Fucking legend, mate. Good to see ya.
No.
And, you know, just thank God for your mates. Keep surfing. What did Lanson say? Stay clean and surf me. And fuck Damien King.
Le boogie.